Welcome back to the Flooring Africa channel. My name is Barry, your self-confessed flooring nerd, and today we're going to be chatting to Ryan from Osmo Hard Wax Finishes, and this is all about the scratch pattern sanding, for those who don't know, and why it is such an integral component in the end result of your finish, on how it ensures the actual attachment to the wood, on how we make sure that it brings all that beautiful wood texture and luster to the surface without giving you horrible scratch pigtails, and on how we ensure the best end result with the longest lasting end aesthetic that's really going to deliver value. We look forward to getting into the detail with Osmo Africa. All right, so today we're getting into preparing your wood substrate, be it for a project or a floor. You need to go through the correct sanding process. So what is the correct sanding process for an oil wax floor?
So the first thing you really want to do is make sure that you are dealing with a clean surface. So there's no point trying to sand a dirty surface. And then whether you're using a Rotex or a machine or a mechanical sander or sanding by hand or whatever process you're doing, one of the most important things from my point of view is really to be focusing on going through the correct grit pattern. And that's something that people often think, oh, sanding is such a loss. Like, it's the worst part. I don't really want to do it. I want to get it through it as quickly as possible.
Yep.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which way you're looking at it, a oiled surface or a hard waxed oil surface like Osmo, the oil accentuates the characteristics of whatever you're putting it onto. So if you're not going to put in the time and get the surface prepped really well, there is a very high possibility that the scratches or the pigtail patterns that you do from sanding too fast and sort of skipping too quickly are still going to be visible. So the oil doesn't hide like many other finishes do, it accentuates.
So sanding, we're scratching the floor ultimately. So what I understand from the flooring industry is that, you know, when we open up a floor, we're using quite an aggressive load number. So the lower the number, the more aggressive the grit is, and then the bigger the number, the finer the grit is. And generally in the flooring process, we will start off at a 30 or 40, 60, depending, and then we'll skip every alternate number and go up to next to around about 120 grit, generally for a flooring.
Yep.
And what you're doing is you're opening up the floor, sanding it or sanding away potentially the old coating, the surface that you don't know what's happened to it. So you're opening up the floor nice and evenly, and then you are reducing that scratch pattern with every subsequent grit paper that you're going through until you get a nice even scratch pattern, which won't show those little circles or those little, what you call pigtails. Pigtails. All right.
Yeah, so exactly what Barry was talking about. You can see that a 60 grit pattern is really rough relative to 180 grit pattern. So you can see there's a substantial difference between that, and that's the bigger the grit or the lower the grit, the more wood is going to be pulled out through each successive run. Some information that I got recently, which I thought was really interesting, or I found really interesting, is that with every successive sanding grit that you go up to, you should be sanding for double the time. So if you're spending 2 minutes on with a 60, and then you're going to skip 80 and go to 100, or you're going to go through the process and go 80, 100, 120 for flooring particularly, that's where we want to end. So 60 should be 2 minutes, 80 would then be 4 minutes, and that's really a general guideline to go through to ensure that you are really sanding and finishing the surface correctly.
So I just want to ask you, like, you wouldn't go, how high would you go with regards to the sanding grit? Because obviously you still need a little bit of texture for the product to bind to.
Yeah, so certainly for flooring, stop at 120. You really do want the oil to have an opportunity to penetrate into the wood, and the wax really needs to grip into something. In terms of smoother surfaces or surfaces that you're requiring a smoother finish that is not going to be abused as much as a floor is.
Yep.
So countertops, kitchen counters, tables, furniture, 180 is really the limit of where we believe and where Osmo as a brand believes that you need to stop.
Okay, because I can well imagine that if you go too high, that you'll almost burnish the surface and you'll actually flatten out that grain where it will resist taking in the product. So it really is, that's good advice. I've learned something.
Every day is a school day.
Thanks, Ryan. Where can we access these products from you? How do we find you?
Very easiest way is to go onto our website, www.osmo.africa, and on that we have a e-commerce platform where you can buy directly from us, or we can point you in the direction of retail partners that are stocking the product.
Fantastic. Sounds easy.